In the name of Allah, the most gracious, ever merciful. Hello there, hope you are doing well. Peace be upon you too. Please tell me in the chat box if anything wrong with the picture or with the sound. Is everything okay? Is everything okay? What about the sound? Please tell me in the chat box. Do you have any problem with the sound or the image in front of you? Yes. What do you mean by yes? Does it mean that there is a problem? Or yes, everything is clear? Yeah, clear. Yes. Everything's good. Okay, so that. No problem. Yes. Fantastic. Very good. As you know, the lecture will be interactive. What's the meaning of interactive? You are supposed to have questions and give me an answer, okay, in the chat box. So, be attentive and try to focus. That's it. In the name of Allah, the most gracious and merciful. Our lecture today, inshallah, we will have a skimming passage upon what's meaning of culture, first of all, as a concept, and is there any difference between culture and civilization? Okay. So let's start our lecture today, inshallah. What is culture? First of all, what is culture? I don't know why should I have that. So, inshallah, in this lecture, we will first discuss the major points. If you have any questions about the elements I stated in my post about the culture, relating to the culture, the concept of culture, the difference between culture and civilization, the characteristics of culture, the layers of culture, dimensions of culture, manifestations of culture, the elements of subculture, the phases or historical phases of culture and civilization, human civilization, comparison between culture and civilization, the Romanticism as a phase in a human civilization and its relationship to the concept of revolution. Then we jump to the comparison between Russian versus French Revolution. Okay, and of course by doing so we'll discover the impact of each one of them and to what extent they are drastic in begetting changes in the history, of course. Okay, so then we have a point of view on the World War I and II, comparing between them, and later how the elements of culture is depicted in literature. Okay, directed in literature by discussing the two works of George Orwell, Animal Farm, and Charles Dickens, A Tale of Two Cities. Okay? So, A Tale of Two Cities and George Orwell's Animal Farm, actually, they dealt with the concept of revolution. So we will see to what extent each writer has his own point of view about this concept. And the World War I and II, particularly II, we will see to what extent William Golden has a point of view about the evil in humanity, or evil inculcated within humanity, represented by the epitome of innocence in the children of his novel Lord of the Flies. Okay? Of course, later we will have, I'll make a vote if we should start by modeling the questions, okay, like this. We'll have some examples for the questions that we are supposed to might expect ourselves to see as a method for guessing our answer or gauging our understanding of the topics of this year. Okay, so let's think about this type of question. Choose the correct answer, and of course later we will go to answer together these questions to see how should I answer it. Okay, so let's go start in seeing our topics, or to have a quick skimming of our topics this lecture. Title of this lecture, of course, would be about culture versus civilization. Okay, exam models, as you see. So let's start. First of all, as I told you, what is culture and its etymological source, how the term is originated. Okay, are there any difference between culture and civilizations? Okay, so before going to this, we said that culture, from the Latin origin, cultura, culturae, this means to bring something up in an admirable way. That's to say, the culture means to bring up, to thrive something in an admirable way. That's the original meaning of the word culture. Cultura, culturae. However, when we come to define this term, actually we are faced with many different problems. Raymond William, as a scholar in the domains of culture and cultural materialism, in the literary theory, he once said, I don't remember how many times I wished if I have never heard the word culture. Why should he say that? Of course, because the culture, when we come to put a specific definition of the culture, we will discover that it's a very amorphous term. Why? Because it's unidentifiable term. The most prominent definition for culture, as we discussed before, is that culture is the complex whole of ideas, language, history, religion, customs, traditions, literature, arts, music, and every habit acquired by a man as a member of a given community or a given society. So if we concentrate on that definition, we would really discover that this definition is very, very enlarged one. Why? Because we are almost included the lifestyle of everything, the lifestyle of a society. Okay? So the lifestyle of a society altogether, by thinking about language, history, religion, arts, law, music, customs, tradition, and every habit acquired by a member, being acquired by an individual, being as a member of a given society. Okay, so this means that culture as a concept is inclusive for any aspect of life. Okay, that's it. Fantastic. Okay, so do you have any problem with the culture as a term? And if you have any problem with that, so let's say, would you guess we had better go to the questions to see examples of the questions? Please tell me in the chat box. Should we go on explanation first, or should we go on examples of questions? Okay, that's it. So that's culture. Okay, very good, well done. The etymological, as I said, etymological meaning of the word culture, as you see, is the cultura culturale. And the definition, the most important and the obvious definition and famous definition of Edward Teller about culture as a complex whole of ideas, morals, language, history, music, arts, and customs and tradition, and every habit acquired by a man as a member of a given society or a given group. Okay, so that's very good, well done. So that's the essential meaning, and that's what makes us think about the idea of Raymond William when he said, I don't remember how many times I wished if I have never heard the word culture. Okay, that's it. Are there any difference between culture and civilizations? Then I should think about culture and civilization. Whenever we have the title of this course in our academic departments, we have it translated into Arabic into Hadara. Okay, and whenever we have it in English, it is culture. So does it mean that Hadara in Arabic and culture in English are alternative for one thing? Okay, are they alternatives for one thing? Does it mean that whenever we called that semester subject as hadara in Arabic and culture in English, does it mean that we have one term, or are they alternative for the one and the same term? Okay, so how do you express this? Whenever I have the title of this subject in our course, we would have it hadara in our schedule, study schedule. Yet when we have it in Arabic, we have it translated into hadara. So does it mean that culture and civilization are the same? Actually, they are particularly overlapping. Okay, what does it mean of overlapping? This means that they are participating in the meaning. In what way? That's to say, culture, as we said, is the lifestyle, including morals, including beliefs, including religion, including music, including any habits of an individual, customs, traditions. All of these aspects are elements of culture. Okay? Yes, yet when we come to the idea of civilization, actually civilization is the materialized parts, which is supposed to be the elevated and the advanced form of material life of culture. So you say that's the advanced state of the material life of a given culture. Okay, so when I come to discuss culture, I discuss morality, I discuss beliefs, I discuss customs, traditions, literature, arts, music. Every thing of these elements are components of culture. But whenever I come to this civilization, I will discover the advanced forms of the material life of these. So I would discuss architecture, I would discuss administration, I would discuss government regimes, I would discuss infrastructure, everything materialized. Okay, so the improved and advanced materialized form of culture represents what is known as civilization. That's to say, I could have a sort of comparison between culture and civilization. Yes, of course, culture and civilization are compared in the idea of that. We could say, first of all, culture is what we have, what we are. Culture is the way we behave, the way we act, okay? And on the other side, civilization is what we have, okay? So civilization, what we have, but culture is what we are, what we think, what we act, okay? Civilization depicts itself in the architecture, administration, ruling regimes, transportations, and everything materialized. However, on the other side, when we come to the civilization, when we come to culture, it manifests itself in morals, religion, values, beliefs, arts, and so on. So that's the idea. So also when we come to the point of measurability, so how could we measure the form of civilization or culture, of course, the measurability are more in the part of civilization rather than that of culture. Why? Because when we come, for example, to the habit of going to the beach, I wouldn't think about this habit being measurable. So it's a habit, okay? The moral or the value of modesty, it's immeasurable. We couldn't measure it. But when we think about the form of civilization related to that habit or that custom of going to the beach, so thinking about traveling to the beach, so means of transportation, I think this would make it measurable. Okay, how? Because we're thinking about that in the idea of means of transportation. We would think about the train or the plane or going, for example, by a car. So these are relative in the idea of the price, okay, and the time and the level of comfort. Okay, so when we think about the price, I think going to the beach by means of the taxi or a car would be a bit more expensive than going by the train. Okay, and going by the plane would be the most expensive means of transportation to go to the beach. Okay, so that forms of civilization is measurable, unlike the forms of culture. So the habit of going to the beach itself is immeasurable. That's to say, I couldn't measure the habit itself as well as any other form of culture. Okay, that's it. So on the level of the civilization or the means of transportation to go to that beach, I would think about the level of comfort, whether it's comfortable or not, and of course the highest in price would be the higher level of comfort. Of course, that's natural to think about it in this way, and to think about the least in the price would be the lower degree of price and the longer time I would take in traveling to the beach. Okay, so by this mean I could guess that measurability related to the civilization and culture, we would think about culture and elements of culture as immeasurable, and we would think about civilization as measurable. Okay, very good, well done. Another way of thinking about the difference between culture and civilization, culture is an object. It is in itself is an object, so to say. Every society or every group would bring its member to adopt that culture to be a god model for that culture. So to say, a culture is an object. However, civilization, on the other hand, is a means. They say that civilization is a method to achieve the goal of culture. So the culture as lifestyle, as a goal for every society to bring up his offspring to achieve the level of his own culture, to be a god model of that culture. Of course, the Western generations would be brought up according to the Western values. Also, the Eastern generations would be brought up to go or cope with that morals of the Eastern societies. Okay, so the culture is a goal while civilization is a means. So a method for achieving that goal. Okay. Also, when I come to differentiate between culture and civilization, I'll think about the culture as an inner, something internal. Why? Because by means of culture, I internalized morals, beliefs, ideas, language within the members of a given society, only to create a model of that culture. While civilization is something external, something materialized. It's not psychologically inculcated within every member of a given society or a given group. Why? Because we almost aim at something material outside the human psyche, while the culture is aiming for inculcating certain elements, certain values, certain language, certain beliefs, morality within a given individual, being a member of a given society or given group. Okay, that's it. Another difference between culture and civilization, I would think about it in the idea of to what extent culture differs from civilization in the point of independence. Of course, culture could grow, could exist, could thrive with or without civilization, but not vice versa. How? How could it be? Of course, if we think about culture, you know that culture exists and thrive within the societies regardless its primitivism degree. That is to say, you could have culture of primitive societies. You could have culture of educated and elevated and highly promoted societies. So culture exists. Okay, culture thrives with or without civilization, but no civilization could exist unless I have a culture. Why? Because as I said before, civilization is the improved state of the cultural elements. Okay, so whenever I have culture, I could or could not have civilization. But whenever I have civilization, this means that I inevitably have a very highlighted, promoted sort of culture. Okay? Another point to differentiate between culture and civilization actually is that civilization and culture differs in the idea of accumulation, or how is culture created and how is civilization created. Of course, when we think about culture and civilization, we'll think about culture in the idea of being changing by the time by means of loss and addition. So any culture, by the passage of the time, we would have a sort of a change of that culture by means of acquisition and loss. How? How could it be? Of course, if we think, for example, about the culture of funeral ceremony here in Egypt, okay, to think about that, or the education of girls on the level of the agrarian society, whether on the level of upper Egyptians or lower Egyptians. Of course, 50 years ago or 60 years ago, you seldom have educated women, okay, in the agrarian society. So by the passage of the time, we have a lot of girls all over the country, all over the agrarian country, whether it is lower or upper Egyptians, going to the university. So that you say we have a change of the culture by loss and acquisition. That you say I have that culture changed by loss of certain things and acquisition of another. So that funeral ceremonies that we used to have for the death of a relative, a lot of people would think that we used to have about seven days setting that ceremony for the dead man. On the other side, we might have nowadays there's no ceremony of the funeral at all. No ceremony at all. So this means that we lost that element of culture, and we acquired that new element of culture by learning how to educate women and girls, okay? And to what extent education is essential and important for girls in society, okay? That's it. Very good. Well done. So all of these elements could tell you or could show you how the relationship between culture and civilization is different. Okay, how culture and civilization are different. Excellent. Very good. Well done. Then we come to the idea of the characteristics of civilization or comparison. Now we are actually did that sort of comparison between culture and civilization. Okay, as I said, so let's think about the characteristics of culture. So according to what you know about culture and civilization, what do you think are the major characteristics of culture and civilization? Please write it down in the chat box. If you know, write it down in the chat box. What are the major characteristics of culture? You know, if you have any idea, write them in the chat box, please. What are the major characteristics of a culture according to your perception? Could you tell? Sorry, please, could you tell me the answer for this question out of my answer for what is culture? What's the difference between culture and civilization? Of course, thank you for all these hearts, all these red hearts, but I need a interactive lecture. Okay, interactive lecture means that you should practice. So to know to what extent you could answer, to what extent you could know. Okay, great. Yeah, thank you. Culture is learned. Excellent. Very good. Well done. Very good. Abdurrahman, culture is learned. Yeah. So one characteristic of culture is learned. Excellent. Very good. What else? Culture is dynamic. Very good, Mustafa. Culture is dynamic. Excellent. Very good. Culture is shared. Excellent. Very good. Well done. So, as we know, so let's explain what's meant by shared, what's meant by learned, what's meant by dynamic. Of course, culture is learned. That means it's not it's not a matter of heredity. It's not hereditary. That is to say, it's not a matter acquired by heredity. It should be learned. Okay, it should be learned, and of course, being learned should be shared. Okay, that is to say, there's no one individual of an individual culture. So you couldn't acquire that culture by means of heredity, and at the same time you couldn't make a culture on the level of the one individual. That is to say, a culture should be learned, and of course couldn't be learned unless you are a member of a given society. And that's what's meant by it should be shared. That is to say, we should share all these elements of culture. Okay, we should learn all these elements of culture by means of being a member of a given society or a given group sharing certain common elements of culture. And the last characteristic, which is supposed to be dynamic. This means that what's the meaning of dynamicity of culture? Dynamicity of culture means that the culture is dynamic, is almost organic and dynamic. It is changing all the time. It changes by the passage of the time. And we said that the dynamicity of that change by means of acquisition and by means of loss. So a given culture could acquire new elements and at the same time could lose many of them. Okay? So that's what's meant by the characteristics of culture. Very good, well done, very good. So these are the major characteristics of culture, which are supposed to be learned. Number 1, learned. Number 2, shared. Number 3, dynamic. Okay, let's see what's next. Yeah, what are the dimensions of culture? So let's see what are the dimensions of culture. Okay, please write down in the chat box. What do you think about the characteristics of the dimension of the culture? So let's see the dimensions of culture. Okay, write down in the chat box, please, if you know anything about dimensions of culture. Yes, good. Let's see dimensions of culture. How many dimensions of culture do we have? Yeah. Let's see if you know anything about dimensions of culture. Please tell me. Yes, nothing about dimensions of culture? System of ideas, good, well done. 7 dimensions? Oh my God, no. Actually, there are 3 dimensions of, yes, 3, yes, excellent. There are 3, very good. No, not language, not age, not education. Yeah, expressive dimension, very good, well done. No, not customs and beliefs. Gender. Expressive system, excellent. Normative system, fantastic, very good. Yes. Excellent, very good, well done. Excellent, good deed. Say good deed, excellent. Thank you very much. When we come to the idea of the dimensions of culture, actually we have 3 dimensions of any culture. So the first one is normative system. What's the meaning of normative system? Normative system from the word norms. It's something like code, like law, by which there is a social control in the form of sanctions, which makes people follow generally accepted morals. Okay, so it's something like ethical norms, something like social norms, something like traditional norms. So that what makes the members of a given society or a given group follow certain norms. Okay, and that's of course what make us think about a given patterns of behavior as accepted or not. A given patterns of behavior is acceptable or prohibited or approved or not. Okay. The second one is the expressive system. So any culture has the expressive system. So from the word expressive, I could have the expression. So the expression of music, expression of art, expression of literature, and so on. So any culture had that way of expressing itself. So to show itself for others, to express itself in the forms of music, the forms of literature, the forms of art, and so on. Okay? The last and the third and the last dimension of any culture is that, okay, set of ideas, okay, that system of ideas in which I could, as a member of a given society, interpret the world meaningfully. That's to say, I could, by means of that dimension, I could interpret the world around us in a meaningful way. So what makes me think about certain thing is meaningful for me? So by that set of ideas or by that system of ideas. Okay, that's it. Very good. Well done. So let's think about the next. Yes, so let's have what's next. What are the layers of culture? So now it's the time to think about the layers of culture. What are the layers of culture? So think about it. What are the layers of culture? Three layers, yes, good, very good. What are they? Body. Three, yes, very good. Subculture, yes, fantastic, excellent. Yes. Yes. Excellent, very good, well done. Yeah, there are three layers. Excellent, very good, well done. Yes, that's it. Very good. Actually, we have three layers of culture. These are the major layers of culture. So what are these layers of culture? I have the first layer of culture, the body of cultural tradition. Okay? The body of cultural tradition. Number two, what's known as subculture. Number three, the cultural universal. So what are specifically do these layers mean? Actually, the body of cultural tradition distinguishes one society from the other. So when I come to the level of the one society, I would think about it from a perspective of a body of cultural tradition. So what makes, for example, the Indian society different from that Chinese one? Okay, what makes it different from the Egyptian society or the American society and so on? So that level or that layer of culture differentiate one society from the other. Okay, that's it. What about subculture? When I come to the second layer of culture, which is supposed to be subculture, this give us an idea about the fraction of the one society. So on the level of the you can say harmonized diversity on the level of one society, I could achieve that subculture. So thinking about the United States society, for example, we would have certain subculture within the one society, and this subculture is categorizing and at the same time identifying certain groups with certain elements of culture. For example, if you think about the subculture of the China Quarter, okay, so this is a sort of subculture. While we have, they are American, they are members of the United States, they are speaking American language, they are living in American states, yet they are keeping the qualities, the traditions, the style of life, the foods of Chinese people. So on that level, I could distinguish the subcategories of the one harmonized and at the same time diverse society. Okay? The third one, or the third layer, which is supposed to collectively shared by all human all over the world. So to say, it is the cultural universal. That is say, this layer would share humanity. That is say, the value of love, the value of cooperation, the value of mercy. All of these values are shared by different, various societies all over the world. So to say, that layer of culture would be said that human culture, so the layer of universal, what makes man a man. So the values of mercy, the values of love, the values of cooperation, all of these are values of a human being. So it could be said all over different times, different linguistic societies. Okay, so by means of this, I could classify the different layers of the culture into from the wider of the scope on the level of the universal, the body of the universal characteristic, and then going narrower to the level of the one society, then to the level of the subculture. Okay, very good, well done. So let's have what's next. Okay, the elements of, what are the elements of subculture? How are they classified? Okay, so if I go deeper into the level of subculture, so I would think about subculture, and as we said, this is to distinguish the fractions of the members of certain groups, certain races within the harmonized diverse society. So what are the major elements of subculture? So could you guess what are the elements of subculture? So let's think about it. What are the elements of subculture? Let me know in the chat box, please, if you have an idea about the elements of subculture. There are 5 beliefs, excellent, good, beliefs, rituals, very good, beliefs, values, excellent, customs, morals, rituals, yeah, language and symbol, excellent. So that excellent, very good, well done. Yes, we have, yes, all of these are elements of subculture. Excellent, very good, well done. Okay, that's it. So when we think about the elements of subculture, we would go to almost 7 elements of subculture. So the first one is the belief. So the belief consists of a large number of verbal or mental statements about any object based on person's specific information. Okay, and of course that verbal or mental statement would identify his judgment of a given patterns of behavior. So to say, my beliefs would control my thinking about a certain patterns of behavior within society, okay, or outside the circle of my society, by the way. So it's not necessarily to have them on the level of one society. So it might make me think about the patterns of behavior of others on my own point of view. Of course, believing in the diversity of human beings is something essential for your educated and civilized behavior, but it might go on to control your perception of others according to that set of beliefs relating to your culture. Okay, the next thing is values. So the next element of subculture is values. What are values? Values are essentially a set of beliefs, yet they are that values are originally a set of beliefs, a number of beliefs, yet that number of beliefs are less in number. So they are not many like the beliefs, and at the same time they are core in nature, they are essential, they are pivotal, they are crucial in nature, and they are very difficult to change. So whenever I have that beliefs growing in its strength into the level of value, this means that it became stronger. It became stronger, and at the same time it has a great influence on my behavior pattern. Okay, so according to this, that value is originally a set of beliefs, yet they are core in nature, less in number, and very difficult to change. Okay, so beliefs are originally elements of subculture. That beliefs, whenever it grows into stronger and very difficult, stronger effect and very difficult to change, that belief grow from the level of belief into value. Okay, so that's the next element of value of subculture. Sorry, that's it. What's next? Customs. And as you know, customs are repeated modes of behavior. Okay, so customs, as everyone knows, that it is repeated actions in everyday life in the members society, in the members of a given society life. So that repeated action, of course, is supposed to be approved by that society. Okay, so it's acceptable ways of behaving in particular situation. Okay, what else? Number 4, rituals. And rituals, what distinguish rituals from any other forms of subculture is that rituals is a sort of series of symbolic behavior. So it's a symbolic behavior that occurs in fixed sequence, okay, and are repeated most often. So the ritual might have a social significance or might have a sort of religious significance or religious importance. So rituals, that's what's known as rituals, okay? So ritual being symbolic and being a series of behavior patterns, it's repeated exactly like that customs most often for certain social, religious, or even traditional function, okay, or purpose. The number 5, language and symbols. And language and symbols are the medium of expression within or among the member of a given society. So by means of language, by means of symbol, that members of that society or that subculture could communicate, could exchange meanings and functions. Okay? The next is stories. Culture is often embedded and transmitted through stories. So to say, stories are part and parcel of subcultures. So by means of stories, I acquire the patterns, the morals, the beliefs, the values of a culture in general and subculture in particular. They are, of course, deep and obviously in data identified in each subculture, okay, by the way. But the most important thing concerning stories is how to tell the story and in what time, okay? What's most important about stories to have its impact on the new generations of a culture or subculture is to specifically identify how to tell it and when to tell it. Okay? Number 7, artifacts. Artifacts are the physical things that are found and that have a particular symbolic meaning for that culture. Okay, so whenever people see that artifact, what think about as a symbol of this for these people. Okay, so it's something like flags, it's something like statues, it's something like platforms are made within a given society to make a sort of memorial for certain actions or certain characters from which they get inspiration in their nationalism, in their history, in their manners and so on. Okay, so by artifacts we are finished with the elements of subculture. Of course, whenever we go to the elements of subculture, we would adopt that form of layers of culture into the body of traditional on the level of the one society, or that universal, or that subculture that is a division of the layers of culture on that style. However, we could have another classification of the layers of culture according to something else. So not related to the level of the society, whether it is the one society or whether it is on the level of the universal world society or on the level of the subculture within the one society. So, once again, I could think about culture layers in a different way. How? By thinking about culture in the idea of, for example, on the level of generation, or on the level of the national or the regional, on the level of gender, on the level of social class, or on the level of the corporate. Okay? So thinking about the layers of culture on this idea, I would make the layers of culture into 6 layers rather than 3 layers. So instead of having the layers of culture into the body of cultural tradition and subculture or cultural universal, I would think about it on 6 levels, okay, as layers of culture. So the first one is the national level. To think about culture on the level of national level. So this is associated with one nation. So to think about one nation as that national level. As if you think about the level of the Arab nation. So the Arab League and Arab nation, this is a national level. To think about the Arab. Or to think about the English level. To think about the English language speaking societies. So this is a national level. Okay? Okay, that's it. Another level is the regional one. So going from the wider into the narrower scope. So from the national level, I would go to the regional level. The regional level associated with certain region, geographical, ethnic, linguistic space. Okay? So thinking about the regional level, I would associate it with ethnic, linguistic differences that exist within a nation, within one nation. So thinking about Tunisian, for example, Tunisian culture as a regional culture. Thinking about Egyptian, thinking about Saudi Arabia, culture as one regional culture, or within the one nation culture of the Arab people culture. Okay, that's it. The third level is a gender level. To think about that culture relating to whether it is males or females, and of course this makes it associated with the gender differences. So as you know that we have different cultures according to the gender. So we have the males culture and females culture. Okay, another level of culture is the generation level. What's mean our generation level? This would associate it with the differences between generations and the parents and the grandparents and children and so on. What's known as a generation gap? What's the difference between grandparents and the parents and the grandchildren? So whenever you have that wide elapse of time between the grandchildren, for example, and grandparents, what think about differences in the culture level. So that is known as a generation level of culture. The fifth one is the social level or social class level. Of course, any society would be thought of in the idea of the classification of classes into lower, middle, and high. Okay, so this, of course, was associated with the educational opportunities and the differences in occupation and the level of a high status living, or the level of living within society. Okay, the last and the sixth and the last level of, or layer of culture is the corporate level. And the corporate level associates with the particular culture of an organization or work or company. So this related to the certain type of occupations of work, of jobs. Okay, so as you know that every fraction of working members would have their own culture. Okay, and that's of course what differentiate between the people of certain occupation, the people of a certain organization, and so on. This is a level or a layer of differentiation in on the level of culture. Okay, so these are the major layers of differentiating layers of culture. The first one, national level; the second, regional level; the third, the gender level; the fourth, the generation level; the fifth, the social class level; the last and the sixth and the last, the corporate level. Okay, so let's see what's next. Okay, history or chronological phases of human civilization. As you know that the human civilization went on different forms of civilization. And on that level, I would say civilization. Why shouldn't I say culture? Because now it is thinking by culture and civilization in a certain idea. Culture, thinking about culture and civilization, I would think about it in being a cumulative for civilization rather than culture. As I said, culture is dynamic, is changing. It might gain or acquire, and it might lose some elements of its own. Yet civilization, whenever I see the history of human civilization, civilization is accumulative in nature. What does it mean? This means that civilization is accumulative in nature. So I start my progress from what the other end. That's to say, I didn't start from the wheel. I didn't start from the needle. Whenever I want to have a certain degree of progress, I started from what the others ended. Okay, so that's what's meant by the human civilization is accumulative in nature. So that's what's meant by the history of a human civilization. The most important elements that I am focusing in the idea of the history or the chronological phases of culture is the level of the medieval level on Europe. Later, the reason time or reason age or the age of reason, and what's known as Renaissance. Okay, which is supposed to be characterized by the scientific progress and the Industrial Revolution, which achieved a high degree of progress in industrialization and what it begets of the imperialism. What's the most important here is to have that Renaissance as a cause for a certain reaction or counteraction known as Romanticism. And whether Romanticism on the level of Germany, the level of Europe, Italy, the level of Britain, the most important element here I'd like to get is the Romanticism as a movement, whether it's on the level of intellectual activity, on the level of sciences, on the level of music, arts, every domains of Romanticism, it actually has nothing to do with the Romans. And it's strangely enough to know that Romanticism has nothing to do with Romans, actually. So the first anticipation that may come to your mind whenever you heard the word Romanticism is to have something relating to love story, to romance. Of course, no. It has nothing to do with love story. It has nothing to do with romance, but it is actually meant for revolt. Okay, so it is already is a revolt against what? Against the materialism of the Age of Reasons and Renaissance. It is a revolt against the dehumanization of man. It is against the scientific, the logic of the Age of Reason. Okay, so that exaggeration of materialism of the Industrial Revolutions, that exaggeration of the rationality, of the logic of science, of that materialism begets its counter-reaction against this by means of Romanticism. And Romanticism, as I told you, is originally based upon the idea of revolt. And from that idea we got certain actions that influenced the history of Europe as well as the history of Russia, by means of to what extent Romanticism influenced the Russian Revolution as well as the French Revolution before. Okay, and of course we have that comparison between Russian and French Revolution. In order not to make that lecture too long for you, I wish to make a sort of revision for the comparisons that we made between the Russian versus a French Revolution, as well as the two world wars, the World War I and World War II. And now, do you think it's better to go to see what sort of question that might be met in your semester? Okay, so let's have it. Okay, let's go to the examples for the previous exams. Okay. The first question, as you see, choose the correct answer. Choose the correct answer from A, B, C, or D. Okay? So please try to focus and concentrate in your answer during this part of the lecture. So let's have the answer for the first question, please. Okay, number one, dimensions of culture is music, art, literature, and so on, are cultural expressions of people. Okay, is it number A, normative? Is it evaluative? Is it expressive? Is it interpretive? Okay, let's see which one is correct, please. Yes, let's make it that scale to have each question independently. Okay, yes. What do you think about this? Which norm or which dimension of this? Yes, let's see. Number A, let's see. Tell me the answer, whether it is A, B, C, or D, please. Yes, that's enough for these hearts. I got a lot of hearts today, by the way. Thank you for your red hearts. Thank you very much. Okay, let's start to answer the question. Number B. No one else expressive. Good. C. B. Yeah, no one else. C. Good. C. C. Excellent. Yeah. No one else. C. Excellent. C. Yeah. Yes. Good. Yes. Excellent. Expressive. C. Excellent. Very good. Well done. Actually, it is C. Excellent. Very good. Very good for everyone. Said C. Excellent. It is number C. Actually, it is number C. Excellent. Very good. Well done. So the correct answer is expressive dimension. The expressive dimension of culture is music, art, literature. So we said that there are three dimensions of culture: normative expressions and the set of ideas and by means of which I interpret the world around us. Excellent, very good. So literature, music, arts are means of expression for any given culture. Excellent, very good. So this is expressive dimension. Excellent, very good, well done. Number 2, the term space refers to the embodiment of the manner in which we think, behave, and act. Okay? The term space refers to the embodiment of the manner in which we think, behave, and act. Is it number A, culture? Is it number B, civilization? Is it number C, acculturation? Is it number D, culturation? Okay? First of all, do you know what's the meaning of culturation and acculturation? What's the difference between the two concepts, culturation and acculturation? Did you know what's the difference between these two terms? Yes, go ahead. The question number 2. Mahmoud Khalid, excellent. Number A, excellent. Rahman, number A. Ismail, what do you mean by no? You don't know the difference? What's the meaning? What's the difference between culturation and acculturation? You mean no for my question? What's the meaning of culturation and acculturation? A, D. Sure. A, D, A. Excellent, very good. A. Excellent, very good. So let's have a point, please. What's the difference between culturation and acculturation? What's the difference between culturation and acculturation? Do you have any idea about the difference between culturation and acculturation? Yeah, what does it mean? So first for culturation, what does it mean? To think about the term culturation, what does it mean? Yes, I said fantastic, very good, well done. Culturation is to bring up a member of a given society within his own culture, within the culture of his own society. Acculturation, unlike culturation, is to bring up a member of a given society within a different culture rather than his own culture. Excellent, very good, well done. So the correct answer for this question is supposed to be the number 1, culture. Why? Because culture is the embodiment of the way, the manner in which we think, behave, and act. Excellent, very good. The next question, number 3. Charles Darnay returned to France 1792 to save his family's steward. Number 2, to save his wife. Number 3, or number C, to save his family members. Number D, to save his father-in-law. Yes. You know Charles Darnay in A Tale of Two Cities. Which answer is the correct? Let's think about it. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much for culturation and acculturation. Let's have the answer for the question number 3. What is the answer for the question number 3? Number C. Are you sure? Save his family members? Yeah. C, A, C, C, A, C. Number B. No one else. Charles Darnay in A Tale of Two Cities. By the way, he came back. He used to live in London. Okay? And he went back to save, out of nobility, of course, out of good manner, he went back to save his family's steward, by the way. Okay? Thank you very much. Next. Number 4. Space are a number of beliefs, core in nature, less in number, very difficult to change. What are these? Are they morals? Are they customs? Are they values? Are they traditions? Okay, let's go please, and let me know which answer is supposed to be the correct one. Yeah. C-A, okay. Customs, values. C. Yes, hurry. C. Excellent. A. Values. Customs. C. We have just explained it in the Elements of Subcultures, by the way, which says that although values are basically or essentially our beliefs, yet they are a set of beliefs, less in number, core in nature, and very difficult to change. If you remember. Okay? So that's the idea. Okay, so the answer supposed to be the values, number C. Why? Because these are, which is supposed to be a set of beliefs, okay? Core nature, less in number, very difficult to change. So let's have number 5. Number 5, space is a series of symbolic behaviors that occur in fixed sequence and are repeated most. Space is a series of symbolic behaviors that occur in fixed sequence and are repeated most. Okay? Are they number 1, rituals? Number B, symbols? Number 3, an artifact? Number 4, a belief? Okay, which of which? Yes, go. Yes, that's enough of red hearts. Tell me which is the correct answer, please. Which is the correct answer? Rituals. Good. Rituals. Good. Rituals. Fantastic. Very good. Rituals. Excellent. Very good. Almost all of you said rituals. Yes. Good. Very good. Rituals. Fantastic. Good. Yes. Actually, it is rituals. Very good. Well done. Actually, it is rituals. So, that which is supposed to be repeated are actions or patterns of behavior with a symbolic, okay, symbolic meaning. Okay, that's it. The next. By the end, space was rescued by an army officer who noticed the island set to fire. Okay, by the end مع نهاية أو في النهاية. Okay, Not was rescued by an army officer who noticed the island set to fire. Is it Roger? Is it Simon? Or is it Jack? Or is it Ralph? Okay, so number A, Roger. Number B, Simon. Number C, Ralph. Number D, Jack. Of course, that's in Lord of the Flies, William Golding, Lord of the Flies. Okay, so whom, which was rescued by that officer by the end of the novel? Roger? Are you sure, Roger? No one else. Is it Roger? Roger. A. Roger. A. 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 Which character is rescued by the end of the novel? Roger, Jack? Seems that you didn't read that novel. Seems that you didn't read that novel, by the way. Okay, the correct answer, of course, is Ralph. So by the end of that novel, Jack and the other members of his tribe tried to hunt Ralph. So that was the final scene in which Ralph was rescued by the officer, naval officer, by the way. And it's a paradoxical idea to have setting fire in the island to catch Ralph is the method by means of which these children are rescued, because fire gave the smoke sign to the naval who think it is an indicative for being as a sign for human being on that island. Okay, that's it. So the next question, number 7. During the Rational Revolution, space were of far greater concern to the Bolshevik than to Zeus in France during the French Revolution. Okay, number 1 or number A, the poor rights. Number B, men's rights. Number D, women's rights. Number C, monarch's rights. Okay, so let's have your answer. So during the Russian Revolution, space were of far greater concern to the Bolshevik than to Zeus in France during French Revolution. Were it the poor rights, were it men's rights, were it monarch's rights, were it women's rights? Okay, let's have your answer in the box. And chat box, please. Go ahead. Number D, C, D. D plus a heart. Yeah, good. D. All right. D, double right. D. A. Got 3 hearts. D. Yes. D, A. Ralph. D. Okay. Of course, as you know, the Russian Revolution was more concerned, or as a communist, by the way, as a communist revolution, was far concerned with the women's rights. Okay, so it's actually number D. Okay, they are far concerned. The Bolshevik Russian Revolution was far concerned with the women's right rather than the French Revolution. Okay, excellent, very good, well done. Let's have next question, number 8. No space had strong views regarding the position of women, and so that it was a waste, that they were tied to domestic see, there's something missing here. Domestic course. I think there's something mistaken there. Okay, so domestic chores and housework. So, Edith Karl Marx, number A. Is it August Young? Is it Frederick Engel? Or is it A and C? Is it A and C? This means, is it Karl Marx and Frederick Engel? Okay, let's have your answer. Go. Get your chance for that question. Number D, C, A or C? A and C. You mean A and C? A, D. No one else. Okay. Yes. D, C, D. Actually, it is number D. A and C. I, Frederick Engel and Karl Marx was the prominent figures in the Marxism or communism, and they believed that it's a waste for women to be kept at home without letting it for work. It's an economic waste for any nation to keep women at home. Okay? That's it. Number 9. The body of culture traditions distinguishes one society from the other. It is well known to be space of culture, to be layer of culture, to be characteristic of culture, to be dimension of culture, to be component of culture. Yeah. The body of cultural traditions distinguishes one society from the other. is well known to be space of culture, to be layer of culture, to be characteristics of culture, to be dimension of culture, to be component of culture. So, what's the answer? Yes? Number A. Excellent. Number A. Layer. Excellent. Very good. Well done. A. Yeah, A. Very good. Well done. Yes, it is number A. It is actually number A. Very good. It's a layer. Okay? It's the second layer of culture on the first categorization or classification. Okay? That's it. So next, number 10. Space consists of large number of verbal or mental statements about any object based on person-specific information and judgment of something about the object. Okay, that's it. So, is the definition of morals, number A, or artifacts, number B, or beliefs, number C, or customs, number D? Go. Number A, number D. Excellent. Beliefs. Good, Mahmoud. Beliefs. Yeah. Anyone else? No one else? Very good. Question number. Yeah. Yes. Please try to be quick. Try to be quick in order to go a lot of questions. Yeah. Number C. Excellent. Number A, C. Please. C. Excellent. Good. Yes, it's number C actually. It's not number A, it's number C. Okay, so beliefs. This is the definition of the beliefs. Beliefs consist of large number of verbal or mental statements about any object based on person-specific information and knowledge about the judgment of something about that object. Excellent, very good. Next. So this is the last question of choose. Let's have another type of question, true or false. Okay, so you might have certain questions telling you state whether this sentence is true or false. Okay, number 1, we shall write either T or F as a method for telling this is true or false. So you shall write in the chat box either T for true or F for false. Normative system is one of the 5 dimensions for the concept of culture. Is this statement is true or false? Write either 2 or F, please. Hooray! We have finished with choose the correct answer. Now it's the time to go on true or false. Yes, tell me whether the first statement is true or false. So you have to write one of the 2 letters, either T for true or F for false. Okay? Go ahead. Which? T, F, T, F, 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 T, F, F. False. 3 dimensions. Excellent. Very good. Very good Islam, Sami. Very good. Well done. Excellent, very good. They are actually, this statement is false. Why should it be false? Because actually we have 3 dimensions of culture, not 5 dimensions. So they are not 5 dimensions, they are 3 dimensions. Okay, so they are 3 dimensions rather than 5 dimensions. They are not 5, they are 3 dimensions. So for this we would have the letter F, okay, as a sign for false. And I said, why should it be false, or should it be considered as false? Because the dimensions of culture are 3 dimensions rather than 5 dimensions. They are not 5 dimensions, they are 3 dimensions. Okay, number 2, culture is widely acknowledged to be measurable, while civilization is immeasurable. True or false? Let's have. So the measurability. I explained this point concerning which is measurable. Do you consider culture as measurable or civilization as measurable? If you remember, when I explained it by the measuring or trying to have a concept of measurability for the habit of going to the beach, if you remember. Is true. We are finished with choice question. So what about all these people who are saying that C? We are finished with choose the correct answer from A, B, C, or D. We are now in true or false. So true. C. Good. Hot. Good. True. No one to say false. Actually, it is a vice versa. It's the contrary. So here I have culture as immeasurable, civilization as immeasurable, and culture is measurable. So I actually did the vice versa. I did the contrary of the reality. So as I told you, it is culture who is immeasurable, but civilization is measurable. And I gave you the example of the habit of going to the beach. Whenever I come to the habit itself, it's immeasurable. I couldn't have a standard measurable for the habits. But on the other side, I could have a standard measure or a measurement for the means of transportation by means of which I go to that beach. I achieve the habit of going to the beach. Okay, so this is false. Why it is false? Because actually they are reversed. So this answer is reversed. So I made culture as measurable, and I made civilization as immeasurable, and that's of course incorrect. Number three, our culture describes what we are, but our civilization explains what we have or what we use of. Okay, what we make use of. Hello? Yes, let's see. Is it true or false? This is true or false. So our culture describes what we are, but our civilization explains what we have or what we make use of. Okay, so let's have your answer, true or false. You're either to say true or false. Okay, true or false. True, excellent, very good, true, fantastic, true, good, true, fantastic, good, true, yes, true, very good, well done, it's really true, yes, it is true, very good, well done. So this is true. Next, culture is not inherited generally, but it must be learned and acquired. True or false? Culture is not inherited generally, but it must be learned and acquired. Okay, which of which? Yes, let's see. Is true or false, please? True or false? False, true, false, true, 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 false, 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 false. Why all these false? Why all these X's? It's actually true. It's not false. Why all these X's? True, 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 true. Very good, well done, true. This statement is actually true, okay? Culture is not inherited. Yes, culture is not inherited. Culture is acquired by being a member of a given society. They are not inherited. It's not a matter of heredity. It is learned. As I told you, the characteristics of culture, 3 characteristics of culture: to be learned, to shared, and dynamic. So this is true. This statement is true. It's not false. Very good. This is true. Okay, let's think about the next. Unlike Napoleon behavior patterns made him a totalitarian character. Yeah. Unlike Snowball, Napoleon behavior patterns made him a totalitarian character. In Animal Farm, we saw to what extent Napoleon took the power of leading animals in Animal Farm by getting rid of Snowball. Okay? So Snowball, as you know, he is a more civilian. Is more civilized behavior of civilized behavior rather than Napoleon. Napoleon is a dictator. Okay, so what's the meaning of totalitarian? Totalitarian means dictatorship. He's a dictator. He's a despot. Okay. Yes, it's true. Very good. Well done. So this makes it true. Yes. The next, number 6, Charles Darnay changes clothes with Sidney Carton, drags him and tells the guards to take Carton out of the prison in his place. True or false? Yeah. A Tale of Two Cities. True or false? A Tale of Two Cities. Yes, I said fantastic dictatorship, totalitarian dictatorship. Yes, let me see. True, false. Muhammad Mustafa, false. True. False. False. True. False. False. True. I don't know. Because I didn't read, actually. If I didn't read, it's a matter of fact to not to know. False, true, true. It was very humane from Sidney Carton to think about Charles Darnay regarding this point, because he sacrificed himself. Sidney Carton sacrificed himself to save Charles Darnay, by the way. So it is the contrary. It's vice versa. So it is Sidney Carton who did that, not Charles Darnay. Okay? It is Sidney Carton made use of his likeness, striking likeness between Sidney Carton and Charles Darnay, and drugged Charles Darnay and clothed him of his clothes and let the guards take him out. Okay, take him out. That's it. So this is false, actually. Why? Because it is Sidney Carton who did that, not Charles Darnay. Who did that for Charles Darnay, not Charles Darnay for Sidney Carton. Number 7. Peggy was killed by mistakes as they thought he is the beast crawling in the darkness. Okay? Peggy was killed by mistakes as they thought he is the beast crawling in the darkness. Okay? This is Lord of the Flies, William Golding. Who was killed by mistakes? Who was killed by mistakes? Was it Peggy? How was Peggy killed? If you read William Golding, Lord of the Flies, you would discover that Peggy was killed by rolling a great stone that smashed his head, and he washed away by the waves of the sea. And that person who rolled that great stone was Roger. But that boy who was killed by mistakenly killed was Simon, by the way. Okay? Was Simon who was killed by mistake. Okay, as I said, so this means that this is a false. Okay, false. Okay, next. The regional level of culture is not associated with the ethnic, linguistic, or religious differences that exist within a nation. The regional level of culture is not associated with ethnic, linguistic, or religious differences that exist within a culture, within a nation. True or false? True or false? And quack, please. Quack. Be quack. Quackly. True, false, 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 false. False. Good. False, false, good. False, 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 two falses, good. False, false, excellent. Yes, actually it is false. Why? Because it is really concerned with that. It is false. False, yes. Let's go to number 9. Culture can evolve and flourish even if the civilization does not exist. In contrast, civilization cannot grow and exist without a culture. True or false? In this, concerning this point of existence, of flourishing, of thriving, we said that one of the two concepts One of the two is independent concerning that point of view. So which of which is more independent than the other? Which of which is more independent? Okay? If its culture or civilization is more independent. Okay, which of which could exist, thrive, flourish with or without the other? True, 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 excellent, true, good, good, true, 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 excellent, very good, well done, good deed, hard work, excellent, very good, excellent, excellent, very good, well done. Yeah. Culture is more independent than civilization. Actually, very good. Yes, excellent, very good. Yeah, it's actually, this is true. Because culture can evolve, can flourish, even if the civilization does not exist. In contrast, on the contrary, civilization cannot grow and exist without culture. This is true. Excellent, very good. So, as you know, culture is more independent than civilization. So, culture can exist, can thrive, can evolve, can grow with or without civilization, but not vice versa. So, to say, civilization should have a culture to evolve, to flourish, to civilization. Why? Because, as I told you, the civilization is the improved statement, the improved status or state of the culture. The materialized, improved state of culture represented in administration, law regimes, ruling government regimes, architecture, infrastructure, and so on. Okay? Number 10. In the present, Dr. Manet took up the hobby of carpentry. Okay? True or false? Dr. Manet, A Tale of Two Cities. In the present, Dr. Manet took up the hobby of carpentry. True or false? Which hobby Dr. Manet learned in his present, during the time of the present? He was imprisoned for about 18 years, by the way. So what did Dr. Manet used to do in the present? Is it true or false? So carpentry, false, true, false, true, 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 false, true, true, true. No one else? Hurry, that's the last one of true or false. Let's see. True or false? Almost half of you said true. The other half had said false. Of course, this is an indicative of not reading the novel or not yet completing it. Yeah, hurry, please. True, true, true. Thank you for your flowers, but I need true or false. True, true, false. Okay, as I said, let's have it. It's actually false. Why? Because Dr. Manet learned shoemaking rather than carpentry. He used to make shoes in the present. Okay, that's it. And a different type of questions is the short essay question. Short essay question that it could be 2 paragraphs or 3 at most. Okay, so it's either 2 or 3 paragraphs at most, like for example, write about the characteristics of culture. And as you know, of course you would say these characteristics of culture, as we said at the beginning of the lecture. We have the 3 characteristics of culture. You explained that. The first one, they are learned. Number 2, shared. Number 3, they are dynamics. Of course, these 3 elements are explained in no more than 3 paragraphs. Okay. The next short question, a short essay question, dimensions of culture. The 3 dimensions of culture, as I told you, it could be, of course, explained in either 2 or 3 paragraphs. It's a normative, expressive, and a set of ideas in which. Okay. So the following question, okay, the last type of questions is the long essay, as I told you, long essay question. The metaphor of revolution in both Dickense, A Tale of Two Cities, and George Orwell's Animal Farm. Of course, in this you will discuss to what extent the 2 writers are against the idea of revolution. Why? Because we what see in the 2 writers' novels something against the chaos of revolution, something that could be expressed in the deception of the slogans, of the idealism of the revolution, and the bloody consequences that could be caused by that chaotic revolutionary actions. Okay, so by means of A Tale of Two Cities and by means of Orwell's Animal Farm, you could explain to what extent the 2 writers with or against the revolution and why. Okay, so you could give pieces of evidence from the situations, the actions, the themes, the motives, the symbols within these 2 novels. Okay, so if you have a question like this, which is supposed to be a long essay question, you're supposed to write about each one of these novels, explaining to what extent the writer with or against the concept of revolution by highlighting the incidents within each novel. Okay. The next long essay question might become in this way. Number 2, evil inculcated in humanity depicted in William Golding's Lord of the Flies. Of course, reading Lord of the Flies and discovering, and strangely discovering, that all the incidents of the novel, the incidents in the novel are all about a number of children, and these children are boys, no females. Okay. And that the great problem, we are shocked by that patterns of behavior of these children, who are supposed to be epitome of innocence. These children are supposed to be epitome of innocence. How? Because they are children, and we used to think about children in the idea of they are innocent. Okay, so we would discover that these children, first of all, starting by initiating a sort of civilized behavior by thinking about a leader, thinking about election, thinking about the right to express yourself, holding the conch, and so on. So all these are good things made by children. Yet, by the time actually we were shocked to think about the behavior of these children in a shocking way and killing one another, okay, or hunting one another by the head. So that, of course, is an expression of William Golding, okay. Do you have any problem with the streaming? Please tell me in the chat box. Do you have any problem? I feel that there's a problem in the OBS as a system. Do you hear me? I think that OBS is stopped. I don't know why. Okay, that's it. So this is the last type of question, as I told you, and of course you are supposed to give a long essay answer for this question. Thank you for your listening, and thank you for that nice questions and that nice interaction with this lecture, and hopefully see you soon again in another academic lecture. Thank you very much. With my best wishes of good time and be all in good health. Thank you very much, and see you soon again in another academic lecture, and goodbye.